All right, so we're all finished with the alarm. I basically came over to a church parking lot so I can do all the testing, just so I don't annoy my neighbors. If you have a shop, I mean, obviously you can do it in a shop, but in a situation like this where I'm going to be setting off the alarm, we just want to make sure that we're kind of out of the normal area so we don't annoy all of our neighbors. So let me take you through the whole process in testing all the zones, make sure that everything works correctly. Now that we got everything mounted up underneath the dash, we want to do our quality control and test everything. So here we go. Okay, the first thing we want to do is check the hood zone. So I pop the hood. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to set on the alarm. Give it about 5 seconds to arm. Then I'm going to open the hood. Alright, so I tested that zone. One thing you want to do when you're doing these zones, you want to test everything, you want to reset the ignition. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to put the key in, I'm going to turn it on, turn it off. That's going to reset that zone so that I can test it again. Otherwise, when you disarm, you'll have 4 chirps. So our next thing that we're going to check, we're going to check flashing lights. So when I go ahead and I hit the arm button, the lights should flash. And they do. Door's locked. Now I've rolled the windows down. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to manually unlock the door. I'll come in here and open it. And then open the door. Progressive door trigger. Alright, now that zone's good. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to open up the bed, the toolbox. Lights are flashing. Alright, so the toolbox pin works. I'm going to come in and I'm going to reset the ignition. It's important that you do this step because if you do not, when you go to test everything, when you disarm, it'll chirp 3 times, letting you know that either a pin's been activated. So now we've checked the hood pin, we've checked the trunk pin, we've also checked the door pins. All those are working great. So now we're going to check the remote start. All right, actually what I want to check now is the shock sensor. Now the shock sensor, you need to have a little bit of leeway on the shock sensor. So I'm going to set the alarm, and it's good to wait about 30 seconds for the alarm system to set its zone and for the shock sensor to work. So I'm just going to kind of sit here for a few seconds, and what I'm going to do after about 20 seconds here, I'm going to start tapping in the back. Okay, the closer I get to the cab, it should set off the warning. Now I've got mine turned way down, so that's its warning. Okay, the closer I get up here, the more it's going to set off full stage. Alright, so we checked that zone. Our next one is we want to check the dome light supervision. Now that will make this thing turn on when I disarm the alarm. So I'm going to disarm it. Okay, then all my lights turn on. Now you heard it chirp 3 times. That's letting you know that the shock sensor's been turned on, or a door trigger or something like that. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to reset the ignition again like I showed you, and we're going to check the ignition on the starter kill. Now our next zone, we want to check the starter kill. Though that deactivates the starter circuit, and the way that works is you hit the arm button. Okay, it locks the doors, turns the alarm on. So if I go to put the key in and try to start it, I'm inside the car. If I try to start it, it should not start. The alarm should start counting down like it's getting ready to go off. I'm going to put the key in, try to start it, and there's nothing. It will not start until I turn off the alarm. Okay, so this next one's kind of the cool part. Now this remote and this transmitter will actually start vibrating and motioning back to me, and it'll start flashing when the alarm's off. Let me show you. I'm going to set panic. The alarm's going off. It's flashing to let you know. It's a very, very loud alarm, especially when it's tapped in to the factory horn system. Okay, so I don't know if you guys know that we actually installed the LED right behind that mirror. And so when we go to hit arm and it locks the doors, you can see the little blue light flashing. And it is actually extremely bright. In the middle of the night, You can see that light from everywhere. I've got the dome lights on. Let me turn those off. So, see how bright that is? And you can see that from pretty much all around the whole truck. Can't see it with that glare of the street light, but pretty much all the way around that truck you can see that red, that little blue light flashing. So that's kind of a cool feature as well. Okay, now the final test is the remote start. We hit this little circle button right here. Confirms, lets you know, and it starts. And the headlights are on, and it'll sit here and it'll wait for about 30 seconds, and then it'll turn on the park lights. We take you over here to the back. There they go. And I've got them wired and programmed to be constant. You can also program those to be a flashing light if you'd like. I personally just like them to run constant. It's kind of close to factory. And then when you want to shut her down, just push the same button and then her shuts down. And that's pretty much it. So we tested all the zones. Everything works flawlessly. This did take us a little bit of time to install. I filmed the whole process, so it took me about 4 weeks to do the whole thing from start to finish. I've done alarm systems before, but it does take some time. If you've never done it before, just research all the information, all the links down below, the video series. I believe there's going to be 12 or 13 videos on this remote start. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the series. I enjoyed putting it together for you. It's been fun to have. I'll show you one more last thing, is how the heater and the air conditioner and the radio works. And then we'll be done with this video series. So please rate, subscribe, and comment, and let me know what you think. And we'll talk to you guys in the next video. All right, I want to show you guys two last features. The one is, if you remember, we had to install a third ignition in this to get it to work so that it would turn on the heater and the radio because they're on separate circuits. So I do want to show you how that works. And then the last thing is the brake shutdown. I forgot to show you guys how to do that as well. So let me show you the brake shutdown and why that's important. So when I'm in the car and say I'm starting it manually. Okay, so I just started it by the key. And let's say I want to just turn the alarm on. I want to turn the alarm on and walk away from it. So I'm going to hit remote start. I'm going to come over here. Hit remote start. Okay. Now it's running on the alarm system. So I'm just going to remove the key. Now the car is still running in remote start. So if I have the key, I get out of the car, I want to get back in, I just go ahead and put the key in, turn it to the on position, then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to tap the brake, and that's going to shut down the whole system, and now I'm running on the key. I'm no longer running on the alarm system. That's why it's important to have the brake shut down. This particular truck will not start if you do not have your foot on the brake. So that helps, kind of an anti-theft, kind of like a starter kill. So that's important as well. So let me show you one more thing on the remote start with the radio and the fan. All right, so I'm running out of light here. I want to show you guys one last thing. So when I'm in the car or outside the car and I want to remote start it, I hit this little circle button here. Hopefully you guys can see that. And what will happen is the radio will turn on and the AC and heater controls will turn on. So here we go. All right, so it just started on remote start. Key's still in it, but I can take the key out. It's still running on remote start. Now the factory lights are not on. It takes 30 seconds for them to turn on, so I'm going to manually turn them on. And as you can see, I have the key here in my hand for the truck, and I now have heater control. The radio is on as well. That's why I needed to do that third ignition like we showed you in that video. Otherwise, we would not have both sources going at the same time. There's no sense in having a remote start without your actual heater running or with your radio. I mean, I think you want to have your radio on too so it can start warming up too. Anyway, that's about it.